Hello, welcome back to our tiny little kitchen here in the RV. Uh, Doing things a little bit different today, entirely because I don't want to walk across the street and get my cookbook. So we're doing this from memory. We'll test how that's working out these days, which isn't always not always the best, but we'll try. We'll see what we can do. So while you weren't looking, what I did is I took 2 of my baking sheets here and I lined them with foil. So that's all that we've done so far, other than turn on the oven to 400 degrees. So what we're doing today is our tomato basil sauce. You may have seen it in somewhere, if I can put that in here, the pizza rolls video. So we're gonna go ahead and do that. It's a really easy process. It takes a little time. Mostly it's hands-off time. In a home kitchen, it's even less hands-on. I've got to do a little extra work because of my small oven. But let's run through what we've got here. We've got 3 pounds of tomatoes. What I have the Kamado tomatoes. That's these nice brown ones here. You can also use Roma's. Heirlooms are what I used in the sauce that I did on the pizza rolls video. Any tomato that you want. It's going to change your flavor a little bit depending on the tomato that you use. The Kamados are a nice flavor, and I've used them in the sauce before, so I'm going to go ahead and use those today. We're going to want a bell pepper. I got an orange one. Doesn't really matter if my light flickers. It's because the AC is on. It's 150,000 degrees today. Pushing 80 in here. Humidity is 97%. So those of you in the swamps of Florida are going, so what? But everybody else, that's pretty muggy. We also have a small onion. This is the smallest one I could find. It's a little big, but it will work. We'll just use what we need of it. Some extra virgin olive oil, and then some crushed salt, or table salt, whatever. Big crystals are okay in this. I'm going to go ahead and try this. It's smoked salt. It's from S&L Fine Foods. I won this at the off-road games in a drawing I wasn't there for at the time. I got home and then they mailed this to me. So I haven't opened this. I haven't used it yet in anything, and I figured this would be a good one to try it in. See if it might add a little smoky hint to the flavor. Okay, so this is me from the future. We've already finished the video. I'm just boiling down my sauce, but yes, you can taste the smoky in the salt. I added a little more just because I wanted a little more of the salt flavor also, but this smoked salt definitely has a smoky flavor to it that added to the sauce. Probably would be good on several different things that anywhere where that smoky flavor, like things you might add bacon to for the smoky flavor, that would be something you might want to look into. And again, I'll put that info down below, and that video clip from earlier that was, I probably just put this in right after. So check it out. I'm going to use this sauce again for pizza rolls. It's not going to be another video. I'm just doing an experiment for pineapple and Canadian bacon pizza rolls. So I'm going to go ahead and do this on this recipe, because if it doesn't play well with everything, it's for me anyway. So, but I'm going to go ahead and give this a try. I don't know if I can get in here. You see how dark some of this salt is in here. So we'll see how that smells when we open it up here. But otherwise, you just need some garlic. I didn't grab any garlic today, but I have some minced garlic. I'll go ahead and use that. If you want to use it in this recipe, you can add ground meat of any kind, whatever, turkey, chicken, beef, pork, whatever you want to use. Also, a nice Italian sausage goes really well with this. And then if you just make the sauce, add the meat, whatever. It also is a really good on pasta, spaghetti, whatever you want to use it on. I'm going to go ahead and boil it down. Like I said, I'm going to use it on the pizza rolls. So we're going to go ahead and show you how to make the sauce. And then at that point, the sauce is done. But I will be boiling it down to a thicker sauce for that pizza roll. Or it would also be the way to do it for just a regular pizza. Okay, so we've got our pans lined with foil. You want to use I can't really show you that on the camera. You want to use the heavy foil, not the real thin stuff. If all you have is the thin stuff, you want to do a couple of layers. But it is really a good idea to get the heavy duty foil for this. So we have that spread on the pan. And then the olive oil, if you don't have a spritzer, you can just drizzle the pan. It doesn't have to be precise. But you want to go ahead and get a fairly decent coating on here. And these spritzers are getting easier to find. I got this one at Dollar General for like $5. I've seen them at Grocery Outlet. I've seen them at some of the grocery stores. It's actually a really handy thing. I thought I would get it just to try it out, and then I got another one and have my other oil in it. Let's go ahead and grab out a cutting board here. Also, before I get carried away and forget, let's go ahead and open this up and see what it's. So not only do I not have my cookbook, I also wasn't planning on doing a video today, so pardon me if I'm a little bit behind the 8-ball here. Oh man, that smells very nice. And again, this wasn't sponsored or anything. I wanted in a drawing. Let me get the label on there. So here's their phone number and the email. I don't know if you can make it out. It's S&L spelled out ward@outlook.com. I'll try and put that down below too if you want to get a hold of them and see about getting some of this. It does smell really good. It kind of smells like the old bacon, like the imitation bacon bits. Had that really salty smell and smoky smell. So then you just want to sprinkle your salt on here. You don't want to just like coat the whole thing, but you want to get a pretty generous sprinkling on there. This is going to add your seasoning to your tomatoes, so you want to go ahead and make sure you get this on there. So we've got a fairly good dusting on there. We're not done with it yet, so set these over out of the way real quick. Here we are cleaning the last tomato. Now we have our tomatoes all ready to go. And as you may have noticed, I put them on a cutting board. And if you surmise that means we're going to cut them, then you are absolutely right. And that knob makes me angry. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut these in half. You want to cut them from the stem to the cap. You don't want to cut them across, just to make that a little clearer. And the reason that is you want your center core to be able to kind of hold this together. As it cooks, it will get softer. And if you cut them in half the other direction, it will make a mess. So you just want to put them with the cut side down into the oil and salt. And that'll be the same thing for both pans. And again, in your home kitchen, you can probably get away with a single pan in the oven. If I had a full-size pan, I couldn't fit it in my oven. But I have done that before in a full-size kitchen in the large oven, so it works just as well. Minus one small bonus feature you get in this oven because of its size and its design. I will explain that in just a moment. And depending on what tomatoes you use, you may have to be more artistic with your arrangement. That worked out better on this one. I think I put them sideways on the first pan, but so like Romas are going to be kind of ovular. Some of the heirlooms are going to be bigger. You want to kind of go with a smaller tomato if you can, just because the big ones are going to take longer. And like I got a package of heirlooms, and some of them were big and some of them were small, and that made it kind of difficult in the cooking process. So now we have all of these done on both sheets. Go ahead and wipe this off and set it aside for cutting our other veggies once these are ready. Okay, so now we have these all on the pan. Go ahead and give them a good spritz with the oil. Again, if you don't have the spritzer, a good drizzle works best if you're drizzling. If you have like a pastry brush, you can just kind of make sure you get a little on all of the surface. Then we'll go back with our salt. And this big crystals aren't going to stick as well as like a small table salt, but you want to kind of try and get them to stick on top if you can. Okay, so now these are ready to go. If you have one sheet and you're at home in the big oven, then you'll just put this in the oven for 40 minutes at 400 degrees. Keep an eye on it. You may need to rotate the pan around in your oven. I have to rotate both the pans. What I'll be doing is in 10-minute bursts. One will be at the top of the oven roasting, the other will be under the broiler. And then, like I said, every 10 minutes I will be switching those, so I will actually get some broiling on the top. You won't get that if you put them in the rack and just cook them, but it will work just fine. This will get just a little bit of a char and a little bit of smoke flavor. If you want to get that in your big oven, roast these for 40 minutes till they're done, and then turn on your broiler. Set them under the broiler for a few minutes. Keep an eye on them. It will happen quick because they will be nice and hot. And you can just get a little bit of that char on there. Or if you have a kitchen torch, that works just fine also. But it's absolutely not something that you need to do to make it work. So we'll go ahead and throw this one on top. And our oven's still coming up to temp, but I think that'll be just fine. And we'll set that one under the broiler. So we've got it split in half. Now we're going to go ahead and just chop it up into pieces. These don't have to be super small or super large or anything in particular. This sauce is going to be blended once it's done. So what you're going for really here is getting fairly consistent and fairly small so that they will cook quickly and thoroughly. But you absolutely don't have to like mince these down to tiny sized or anything. I'm only going to do probably about half of the second half here because, like I said, I wanted a small onion and this was the smallest one I could find. You can mess with the quantity some if you want less onion flavor or more onion flavor. Same with the garlic. So this has a drizzle cap also. So I will drizzle some olive oil right in the pan there. And then we can just shoot that right in there. Okay, throw that lid on there and we'll let that sweat while we get our bell pepper. Now we're just going to chop this up so we can just take it and cut down the lines on the outside here. And then pop those right off of there. And looky there, almost all the work is done. Pro tip, that does not work if you want rings. Just in case you were wondering. Okay, so now we will take this, go ahead and cut these into rough thirds here. Like I said, we're just chopping these into smaller sizes. They don't have to be tiny. Let me go ahead, work these around a little bit in here. They're coming along nicely. I don't know if you can see it on the camera, but they're really steaming up in there. You want to do that, let them sweat out the liquid. Once they get the liquid sweat out of them, they will start to caramelize. That is what we want. The bell peppers will cook faster than the onions, which is why the onions are in already. I may have gone ahead and cut these a little smaller, but these will work fine. So I have some of this onion in here starting to caramelize. It's getting a little bit of translucence to the onion. Probably could have taken off one more layer of that, but it won't matter. Let's bring you over here and show you. You can see these are starting to get a little of the translucence in there, and some of them are starting to take on some color. We'll let these go just a little bit more here, and then we'll add the peppers in there and let them do the same thing. And spread that down in there and just give it a quick shake of the salt. You won't need a whole lot of the salt in there. And if you want more salt later, you will be able to add more salt to the sauce. So it's not like a now or never type of deal. But we'll throw that in there and give it a chance to add a little bit of that smoky flavor in. We're stacking the deck. If we get the smoky flavor in the onions and the peppers and the tomatoes, we'll have a better chance of it making it into the sauce. Okay, so I am back. It took me a minute. I had to find my other little fan and get it out and set it up on the camera because it's overheating. Big surprise. So we have some good color on our onions now. We've got them all ready to go. We're going to go ahead and add the peppers in here. Okay, we will let that hang out for a minute while that's going. I don't know if anybody noticed, I've got a new apron here that was a birthday present. And unfortunately, my dad's in the hospital and I've had a lot going on, so I was planning a different thing for this week, and I've kind of pushed that off till next week, or so, but I think I might go ahead and do a video on the cookies I'm making tomorrow. Because they are one of my own. And I haven't made them in a while. So I'm going to go ahead and make them again. And again. Beautiful. Okay, so we've got our onions and our peppers. They're cooking down good. The peppers are getting nice and soft. So I'm going to go ahead and add my garlic. If you're doing fresh garlic, I usually do I want to say 4 or 5 cloves. I don't know. By the time I put this together, I'll be able to put it down below. I'm just going to play it by ear here. So, like I said, this is just going to be a recipe I'm trying, and the sauce isn't even like an important part of the experiment that I'm doing. I mean, it's an important part, but it's not vital that it be exactly how it always is, if that makes sense. And really, the garlic level is to your own preference if you're making this. So now I'm going to go ahead and turn this down. Once you add the garlic, you don't want to keep it over high heat because the garlic will burn fast at high heat, and it will get a very bitter and unpleasant taste if you burn the garlic. So if you see your garlic in there and it's taken on a nice golden brown, be careful. If it starts getting brown, then it's probably burnt. And obviously if it's black, it's going to really ruin everything. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and take that off the heat now. We still have 15 minutes on the tomatoes. And we can put it back on the heat when the tomatoes are back in there. So what we've got in here is our peppers and our onions and garlic. It's absolutely a unnecessary step, but I just want to try it because I'm curious if I can pre-blend these. All right, that's beautiful. Nice char on the top there. Okay, so it just occurred to me that when I was running down the ingredients, I did kind of leave out an important one for the tomato basil sauce, and that would be our friend the basil plant over here. You do need some basil in the tomato basil sauce. Like I said, I don't have my book in front of me right now, and it's over there enjoying the sunlight, so it kind of slipped my mind. So we still got a few minutes to wait on the tomatoes, but I just thought I would go ahead and confirm that, yes, I did forget that when we were running through the ingredients, but yes, there is basil in the tomato basil sauce. So this is what we've got here for the sauce. We'll just set these aside over here. And if you were curious, this is what we ended up with in the pan from blending the onions and peppers. So I would be able to just mash up my tomatoes and dicing up the basil if you were going to do that, but I'm just going to throw it in there and then hit it with the blender and see how they look. Nope, I didn't. I heard you. I heard you thinking I forgot that one. And in case you were wondering, my thumb just confirmed that yes, these pans are hot. So now what we have here is our lovely roast tomatoes. And you can see the skin's puffy up here, but these have softened. They've shrunk up quite a bit. You can see these pans were like full and how small these are now. And they've cooked out a lot of liquid here. It would be really nice to just drain that off, but that's a lot of flavor. So instead of draining it off, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and dump this all into the pan, and then we will evaporate that water out for the thicker sauce. That will leave the flavor in the pan and the water will be gone. If you just dumped all of that off, you would get a thicker sauce right away without the cook time. But like I said, that's a lot of flavor you would just be dumping. So let's see, can we see what we're doing here? Bring it down a little bit. This can be kind of awkward. Especially when you put your breast elsewhere. This is another good reason to use the heavy duty foil. Now the foil will cool very quickly, so if you just unfold it and set it up like that, it will only take it a minute or two before it's cool enough to handle. Then what you can do is just pick this up and then kind of tip that corner down in there and let it go. Now if you're lucky, and I got pretty lucky this time, everything just went right in there. That's because I spritzed it well with the oil. If you went a little sparing on your oil, sometimes you'll get bits of the tomatoes and stuff stuck in there, and you'll have to scrape them carefully off of the foil with your spatula. Okay, so we have our tomatoes and onions and peppers and all of that good stuff in here. And we tried to throw our spatula on the floor, but it didn't work. So we'll try harder next time. Let's tip this up here so you can see you have all of these tomatoes. They're still halves. We've got all our baby food, bell pepper, onion, baby food in here. Just kind of stir all this around, get everything all worked together. Now, that is totally an unnecessary step, because when you stick the blender in there and you start working it, it's going to stir all that stuff together, but it's fun. Your basil, you can just kind of turn. But with the immersion blender, you got to be a little more careful with throwing whole basil and stuff in there, because it's not always. I'm sure some are better than others. This is just the best, the best I could get, because it was the only immersion blender I could find within all of the stores in my general vicinity. And it does the job, but it's just, it doesn't work as well as a blender. And some of them, it does work really well, but like I said, this does the job. If you're using a blender, just be careful that you don't go crazy. If you want some chunks in it, they will disappear very quickly in a blender if you have a good one. I have a very good blender. It just is too big and heavy for sacrificing the space it takes in the motorhome. Let me bring this over and you can kind of see what we're doing while we're doing it. Maybe I can't tell because I can't see the screen now. If you're making pasta or dipping sauce, at this point the sauce is done. This sauce is ready to use on pasta or anything else. But as you may have seen, it's thin. It's liquidy still. So now, if you want it to be thicker, then that's what we're going to do next. If you don't need it any thicker than it is right now, you're done. Good job. Enjoy. This is delicious. It is amazing. I love this sauce. It's great on pasta. It's great on pizza. It's would be really good for dipping barbecue toast, garlic toast. So it's simple. Like I said, if you have your residential kitchen, you're using a bigger cookie sheet or a baking sheet, then it's the same process, but you can throw that in the oven and you can work on making whatever you're having with this while it's in the oven. Or you can definitely roast these tomatoes ahead of time if you do this the night before. Now if you want to thicken it, which is what I'm going to be doing right now, then you just take this right back over here to your stove. It won't take long to get up to a simmer because it's still pretty hot. So we will go ahead and throw this on a medium high, estimating because I don't have those on here, but I'm going with about a 3/4 inch flame for those of you with a gas stove. And we want to go ahead and leave the lid off. We can throw it on right now to help it get up to a simmer faster because it'll keep that heat in there. Once it starts to bubble, the lid wants to come off because otherwise the steam, it just collects in there. In fact, you can already see that. There's the steam. What we want is that steam to come out and go away because that's the water that we're boiling off. So I think I might go ahead and let you stare at my spider for a minute. Let's go up just a little bit. I don't want to go all the way to high, but I want to bring up the heat just a little bit. And while we let that get to a simmer, I'm going to go up front and try and climb over my table and get to my my dish bin so I can get some of this dirty stuff in there. You guys keep an eye on that for me and let me know if it starts to bubble, okay? Is it bubbling yet? It's bubbling. Why didn't you say anything? People, come on. Okay, so we've got it up. It's starting to bubble, starting to boil a little bit. Don't need to get crazy with it. As long as it's simmering, it is steaming. As you can see, the steam is coming out of here. That is what is going to let us reduce this. You can just go until it's what you want. It's up to what you're doing with it. I know for my purpose 50% is what I'm looking for. If you're looking to dip like French fries or garlic bread, or go till you like it. That's all that really matters, is that it's where you want it to be. So we'll just go on this until it gets down there. Okay, so this is me from the future again. I did want to come back and give you some extra information because I was thickening this and I took it a lot further than just regular pasta sauce. When you are reducing a tomato sauce or any sauce, as it gets thicker, it's going to bubble, not more vigorously, but those bubbles are going to fling stuff more. So once it starts to thicken, you will want to put your lid on. And when you put it on, don't seal it, but kind of tilt it so the steam can still come out. It's going to make a mess. You can get like a spatter shield. It might let the steam out. I don't have one of those yet, but it will make a mess spattering around, but those bubbles will pop and fling stuff, so you're gonna have to put your lid on. But if you put it on and like seals the pan, it's just gonna cook. It's not gonna let the steam out enough to reduce. But also this is the 50% reduced sauce. As you can see, it's still liquidy, but it's a lot thicker. I would say if you want to thicken it up for spaghetti to have a little thicker sauce, you wouldn't have to go this thick. This would probably work for like lasagna though. But again, that thickness is your preference. I know this thickness is good for the pizza rolls, which is what I'm using it for, so that's what I went with. Not really sure. I didn't look at the clock. It's not hanging up, but I'm not sure how long that took. It's going to take what it takes based on how long it takes to boil out the water that you need, which will vary stove to stove. So I can't tell you boil it for X number of minutes and that will be 50% reduced. So anyway, I just wanted it because I know I said in the video earlier, don't put the lid on, let the steam out. That's true to a point. Once it starts to bubble and fling stuff all over you in your kitchen, you'll want to put the lid on, but let it breathe so that the steam can still get out. And I have every intention of getting a spatter shield. Like, I just haven't yet. And it wouldn't work on this pan as well anyway, because it has these knobs that stick up above it. And those are so, you can use the lid as a strainer on this pot. You can lock the lid on and pour the stuff out. So that shield would sit on those. But that's what we came back for. So anyway, just noticed that I got some clear over here on the cutting board. Anyway, that's all I wanted to say. So we will see you next time, hopefully, and back to the wrap up. But this is basically it at this point. Once it gets to the thickness you need, then it's ready to use. You can put this in an airtight container in the fridge for about a week or so, so you don't have to use it all immediately. It will freeze just fine. You can stick it in a container, freeze it, store it for, depending on your freezer, up to probably a year. I wouldn't go much past that. If you can vacuum seal it, that will make a world of difference. It will last. Vacuum sealed, it would last probably 2 weeks in the fridge. Freezer, it would probably last deep freeze as long as it doesn't get punctured. Or it can be canned if you want to can it. Perfect sauce for that because it's almost entirely tomato based, which is the ideal food for canning. But otherwise, your seasonings you can add, subtract, change that. Your salt level, all of that it's a preference thing. But this is, like I said, it's a great sauce for pastas, it's great for pizzas, it's great for dipping, it's great for whatever you want to make with a tomato based sauce on it that has kind of an Italian flair. But yeah, it's easy, it's fast. Aside from the 40 minutes where you're not doing anything, it's much better than anything you're going to get in a jar. So I really hope you'll try it. I hope this was worth watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you can give me a like down below. If you're not subscribed, click that button, hit the bell so that you'll know when things are coming up in the future. We have things in the works that you're not going to want to miss them. It's going to be some good stuff coming here soon. and hopefully we'll see you there.